Oh, welcome one. Welcome all to the SnailTrail4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun in Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic older Toyotas are, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler. Joining me for another episode of the SnailTrail4x4 podcast, Jimmy Jet, JJ, the jet plane. How you doing, man?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking. Yourself?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I just sneezed right before we hit the record button, and now I feel like I have all this super. I was feeling great as we were going through the joke.
Now you have some pressure up
And
here.
now I've got like this pressure behind my eyeballs.
Yeah. Bummer. You need some more water?
I don't know. I need something, man.
There's
I
some
need a lobotomy.
whiskey or beer in that fridge.
Can we just get a lobotomy and
Yeah.
be done with it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, do a little swishy. Oh, shit.
Oh, man. But we've got a fun episode for you guys today. But before we get to that fun episode, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do.
Just a little bit.
We don't have a whole lot going on for the most part, like some of our other months that we'd have an insane amount of things happening.
Yeah.
But we've got roughly 3 giveaways happening. 2 of them are on the same line, which are our reviews. So we're coming at, what were we, 670 something?
Yep.
But once we get to 700 reviews, we're giving away a swag pack and an Onyx Off-Road Elite membership.
Sweet.
Yeah, super excited about that. Super excited to hand that off to somebody so they can go find and explore more trails out there and their vehicles or hiking or however you like to enjoy the outdoors. You can do it with that mapping software right there.
Yep. Can you use it in new vehicles?
Yeah.
What about old vehicles?
Sure.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice.
On your phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Next up on that same line there is once we get to 750 reviews, we're giving away a set of tires from Yokohama Tire, almost any tire you want. It just has to be smaller than a 20-inch rim and DOT approved.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's cool. There's some cool stuff going on there. So big shout out and thank you to Yokohama Tire and Onyx Off-Road for donating those items for some lucky winners.
Yes.
So pretty sweet, fun partnerships we get here on the podcast for all you guys out there listening to the podcast. Let's see. We have some fun, exciting news from 4-Wheel Underground.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think did that start last week or is it starting today?
It started last week.
So if you guys were not paying attention last week, there is a new mid break between our housekeeping and campfire discussion.
Mid roll.
There from Brian at 4-Wheel Underground talking about cantilever
suspension for your 3rd gen
Forerunners. So, it's been really rad to watch Brian design and come out with the cantilever system.
Yeah.
Jimmy and I have a special relationship with Brian that we get some kind of inside scoop and learn about things as he's working on them before it becomes known to the public. So,
and cuddle time.
And Jimmy gets extra cuddle time. I only get like half the cuddle time Jimmy does, which is kind of annoying. I think it's just you guys' beards. You guys both get together and just stroke each other's beards. And,
yeah, that's better than what I was going to say. So we'll leave it at
that one. Brian, if you have comments about this, you can always call in to defend yourself if you want.
916-345-4744. Be a part of snail mail.
Oh, man. But yeah, the cantilever system is really, really bitchin' how he set it up. It makes a lot of sense for vehicles where packaging coilovers is going to be very difficult, especially longer length and extra travel length coilovers that you need for kind of high desert speed stuff or high articulation rock crawling stuff, right? So he has everything set up mainly in mind for rock crawling, but the system should work really well in higher speed stuff as well. What's really neat about the cantilever system is how he packaged the sway bar with it all.
I know. Isn't that rad? He's so clever.
It is very clever. Typically, you see sway bars as a separate item from other suspension components, right? In any suspension setup. And what Brian did was he built the whole cantilever arm that cantilevers that turns and rotates. It rotates. To allow the shock and the travel of the axle to be in two different dimensions. So that arm that rotates, he did it on a spindle with some bearings rather than other options that have been seen out there, like bushing style options. A lot of cantilever systems are hard mounted or bushings. He used some actual spindles and bearings, which is really beefy. It makes it last a lot longer, makes a lot less wearable parts in the system. But then what he found out was he found a way to build the sway bar into these spindles so that it's a turn dial disconnect for the sway bar.
Yeah. So it's super easy to unlock the sway bar.
Yeah.
Unlock it back up when when you don't need it anymore. Yep. Or you do need it again driving down the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an on-off adjustable sway bar with just a simple turn dial on it.
Yep. All packaged into the cantilever system.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. Yeah. I wonder if I can set that up though on like Samantha.
Probably.
That'd be rad.
Yeah.
Because then I could just turn the sway bar off.
Yeah, essentially you're deleting the sway bar when you go onto the trail then. Mm-hmm. So it's still there, but I mean, you're not using it. It has no
when I drive on the road, I have it engaged. And when I take it off road, I can disengage it.
Yep. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rad the way he's set that all up. And one of the cool other things about the cantilever system is it works with his existing geometry kits. Okay. So if you have a 3-link kit or a 4-link kit from him, he can make the cantilever system work with your links that you already have.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm debating on maybe next year putting a cantilever under Kermit.
Dang. You'd get so much travel.
It'd be awesome.
Because what is it? It's 16 inches?
16 inches of wheel travel from bump to droop.
Yeah.
Bump to strap, I guess.
What are they? Is that what they called it? Yeah. Bump to strap.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's insane amount of drop there or just wheel travel. It's such a cool setup.
Yep. And I would get more wheel travel because I'm mainly articulating. I'm not jumping the vehicle, and my axles are wider, so I would get, I think, more than 16 inches of wheel travel.
Yes.
Because of where the shocks would be placed on the cantilever shocks on my axle and everything.
You would get more travel due to the articulation movement than bump to strap. You'd still get bump to strap 16,
yeah.
But you'd get more articulation wheel travel. Yeah. Which would be still nuts. I mean, you already get a lot with this current setup.
Yeah.
And what are they under there? 12s?
12's in the rear right now. Yeah. 14's in the front.
Right. So it's wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. It's on, I don't know it's probably on the website somehow, or connect with Brian on Instagram and he'll send you over a link to get there. 4-Wheel Underground on Instagram, or I think, is it info at 4wheelunderground?
Yes.
.com if you want to email them.
And it's the number 4 Wheel Underground.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the number 4 and then wheelunderground.com is the URL and the email and everything. So
Yep.
Cool stuff from Brian. I'm really excited to see the cantilever out there in the wild, and marketing and advertising starting for it. So we get to start telling the whole story about cantilever.
We've been having to have our lips tied for a while.
Yep.
But our lips are open now.
Yes, they are. You cuddling with Brian again? Oh man. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for today, for Monday's kind of housekeeping stuff.
No, we still have more. Very important one to talk about.
We do. It's very, very, very important. Jimmy, why don't you tell these people what this important thing is?
You totally forgot about it.
Oh yeah.
Factor 55 is our monthly giveaway. You thought we already covered this.
I did.
Yep. Nope. Not on this episode. That was Thursdays. But yeah, Factor 55 is our monthly giveaway for the Snail Squad members. We have some awesome products that they're donating to us to give to you. Those include the hammer strap, the hammer loop, and the Ultra Hook.
Good job.
Did I say it right?
Yep. Lance is proud of you.
Thank you, Lance. It's because of your text message. I got that correct. 6 out of 5 stars for you, Lance, for that helping me remember.
Yep.
But yes, we're going to have, I think Justin's on next week.
I believe so. We're recording with him next week. So we'll see if that's going to air
that week or the following week. Yeah. So we'll get that ball rolling here. We'll have Justin on to talk about the new products and debunk some recovery myths.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that episode.
Absolutely. So now take it away.
Now we can take it away from housekeeping.
Sure.
All right.
And if you want to get in for the giveaway items, go over to irate4x4, our good buddy over there, Austin, that runs that great forum, irate4x4.com. You go over there, go down to the watch, listen, and discuss section, SnailTrail4x4 forum, and then the sign up options are there for you.
Sweet. I like it. While you're there, double check in on your PayPal account for gift boxes. Gift box tier will be opening up again in October, the month of October. So everything is on track to get these gift boxes shipped out last week of September, first week of October, somewhere around there. So check your PayPal account to make sure all your addresses are correct, or look through your email to find an email from Jimmy at SnailTrail4x4.com to confirm your address is correct. And B, if you want to get in for the gift box, put that on your calendars. It'll be open from October 1st to October 31st. So that you guys can change up your subscriber tiers to get in the gift box, leave the gift box, whatever you want to do there. So
sounds
that's
good.
Coming up.
Yes, it is in a few weeks.
Yep. Sweet. That does it now. So let's head over to talking about some fun arguments. Jimmy and I are going to get in a fight here, I think. Not really. I think Jimmy and I see very eye to eye on this topic, but we'll see how it goes. We got a fun one for you guys today with the campfire discussion. I think it's one that will probably come up around a lot of campfires with you out there hanging out with your buddies, camping, and seeing and hearing a lot about the new vehicles coming out on the market nowadays. Where do you make a decision on these? So we'll get into it here. We're going to hear a little bit from Brian about cantilever, and then we'll be right on back with today's campfire discussion.
If you have a third-gen 4Runner and want 16 inches of wheel travel without cutting into your sheet metal, check out 4-Wheel Underground's brand new cantilever suspension, featuring an integrated anti-sway bar and turn-by-dial disconnect. Don't sacrifice performance and comfort for the sake of wheel travel. Get both with our new cantilever system at 4wheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's campfire discussion. This is an interesting topic that sort of came up, I don't know, sort of randomly, but it's always kind of, Jimmy and I have talked about it a little bit here and there sparsely in the past. We've never done and dug into the deep details on it all, but the topic kind of got brought up again recently with me talking with somebody about, he just picked up a 3rd-gen 4Runner.
Okay.
And he used to do a lot of wheeling back when high school and college in the areas here in the Sierras because he was hunting.
Okay, sure.
And so he would use wheeling to get to his hunting locations. And now that he's older and retired, he wants to get back into wheeling for the recreation of wheeling again.
Oh, okay. Not hunting.
Not hunting. So he wants to do wheeling for wheeling now.
Got it.
And he picked up a 3rd-gen 4Runner and was trying to figure out what he needs to do with it in order to get it capable and ready to do the Rubicon.
Oh.
And to do rock crawling. And if there's stages that he can build it in so that he can still go enjoy it on other trails like Strawberry or Deer Valley or Slick Rock or some of the quote unquote easier trails in our area before it is Rubicon and Fordyce ready.
Oh, Okay.
So I was talking to him about everything, and I'm like, you need to look in these systems are really what you want to look for in order to make this capable for rock crawling.
Yes.
And the conversation got into a lot of nitty gritty details that I was having to explain a lot to him. And I was like, man, I think that a 3rd gen Forerunner might be the bad platform for him.
Oh, really?
And I found myself thinking he should have just bought a Jeep Rubicon.
Oh, why was that?
Because it's all set up, ready to go. It's got modern, or a Bronco, maybe.
Yeah.
A brand new Bronco. And so I'm like, it's already set up, kind of ready to go. The aftermarket support on newer vehicles typically tends to be a lot more, and it's easier to do installs.
Yes.
To get vehicles ready for the types of off-roading, the rock crawling that we have here in the Sierras.
Okay.
Ultimately, are they better vehicles to do rock crawling with?
Stock?
Stock, yeah, right, exactly. Stock, or maybe some of the aftermarket, easy to attain and install aftermarket stuff.
Then I would probably say yes.
But
regrettably,
but platform-wise, is it a better platform? And so it started making me think, because I was like, man, am I really thinking of recommending a Jeep to somebody?
Yeah, are you feeling okay?
No, I'm not, Jimmy. We've been over this over the past month. But I was like, why am I recommending a Jeep to somebody? I started having to think through this process, and if I'm having like a midlife crisis or something. And so I thought it would be an interesting topic to try and maybe hash out. There go Jeep and Jimmy.
We need to change this to Tyler.
Jeep and Tyler?
Yeah, you're the one suggesting Jeeps.
No way. Well, yeah.
I think I've rode in one once.
I've ridden in them. I've wheeled in them, and I'm not a fan for personal wheeling and usage, but it just kind of made me think, right? Why am I recommending a Jeep? What is it about Jeeps that versus like you and I have older Toyotas?
Yeah.
That make it more feasible for one type of personality or one type of consumer versus other types of consumers. Because I myself would not choose a Jeep to go with.
Right.
And so what is the difference there?
That's an interesting question.
Right?
And what type of person wants those, I guess? Yeah.
So is there a benefit to newer versus older vehicles? Benefits and drawbacks to newer versus older vehicles for off-roading or rock crawling or maybe even overlanding?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Can I want to back up though before we actually dissect
There's a wall behind you.
Okay.
Just FYI. Because
hope nobody's in your office.
Yeah.
But for those that weren't watching the video, I just hit the wall with my head. Let's see. I want to go back and talk about the questions that he was asking you that made you suggest these things.
Okay.
So what was it like? Why? So he bought himself he probably did his own research and acquired the Forerunner.
Yep.
And now what does he want to do, or what was he asking you that made you go, you should have bought a Jeep?
So the first things I was asking him, I said, what size tires are you running? How much lift does it have? And he said, it's pretty much stock on like old worn out 31-inch tires and 15-inch wheels.
Okay.
So like we started the conversation with what size tires, what kind of tires should I get? And I was like, well, what size wheels do you have? That's going to limit your options on tires. How much lift do you have? And then I started thinking, well, he's trying to take this on, like Deer Valley and Rubicon. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're going to need a lift here. You're going to need some bigger tires. If you want to get into bigger tires, you're going to need to get different rims.
Yeah.
Because there's not many bigger tires and 15-inch rims anymore.
Not really.
I think anything over a 35 and higher.
Yeah. Maybe 37s.
Maybe.
Actually, you can get the pit bulls still come in at 15.
Really? Are they still
I think
out?
so.
Is Pitbull still in business?
I don't know. I thought somebody was telling me the other day that they was like a 40-inch 15.
Interesting. I know that
whatever their size was.
IROX used to have a 42 15.
Yeah.
I know Pitbull did used to have. I just don't know if Pitbull's still in business. I think
have no
IROC
idea.
discontinued their 15s.
Probably. I bet you can get up into 37s. I don't know if you can go more than that.
Maybe, yeah. So I was like, you might want to look at getting some different rims because your tire options will open up infinitely if you go with 17s.
Yes.
And so we started there, and I was like, well, if you want to get some different tires, what gear ratios are you running in your axles? What's been upgraded in the gears yet?
Yeah, nothing. Stock.
He goes, I haven't done anything to them. They're probably stock gears. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to want to redo gears. And while you're in there redoing gears, you should probably do lockers too. Otherwise you're going to pay for the labor twice. I was like, what kind of lockers do you have? Do you have an e-locker in there? He goes, no, I think it's open. I was like, okay. So you got, all right. So now we got to do rims, tires, lockers, gears, a lift of some sort to clear the tires.
Independent suspension.
Do you gotta knock all that off and do a solid axle? Do you want to do a long travel? Like, I don't recommend long travel for the rock crawling we have in the Sierras.
Right.
There's just a lot of components. It's a lot more complex, a lot more to go wrong. You can definitely make it work if you're really good at maintaining and you're good at checking all your stuff after every trip, right? And then swapping out parts in between trips so you don't have failures on the trip.
Right.
Solid axles are a lot easier to maintain and don't require as much mechanical knowledge to work, function, and keep working longevity wise, right?
Right. So from what it sounds like is you're working on everything and you're building him a vehicle that if he would have just started with a Jeep, he would have already had these things.
Yeah. And there's the point of, he also sounded like he didn't have too much mechanical knowledge. And he wanted to have shops do most of the work on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, if you got the money to blow, go for it, dude.
Sure.
But like at what point though, would it have just been way more cost efficient?
Yeah.
And easier and simpler to get up and running and go off-roading with a newer vehicle that already has a lot of these technologies in it ready to go. And then at what point, is it worth going that route versus building a vehicle? Say you absolutely love a 3rd gen 4Runner platform. It's nostalgic to you for whatever reason. You want to stay in that platform and you're like, but I want to build this into a wheeler. At what point is it, do you really need to have the mechanical knowledge to do it, or is just continually taking it to a shop and being dependent on shop schedules the thing to do? So that's where I started.
Yeah.
As we're going down this line, I'm like, man, I don't know if a 3rd gen 4Runner is the right platform for him.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting conversation in general, right? I mean, it's it's kind of a conversation of what's the best out of the box offer, like Rubicon ready vehicle.
But it goes deeper than that too. Well, yeah, I guess what's the best out of the box ready vehicle for the type of personality that would need it? Because it's not just what is the best, most capable vehicle for rock crawling, right?
Yeah.
From the factory.
Yeah.
It's more because it's a capable vehicle from the factory, but I still wouldn't want it. Like I don't want to go and wheel new stuff.
Sure.
At the same time, right? And that's my personality though.
Yeah. But on the flip side, it's in parallel, we're saying the best, most capable off-road rig out of the door from the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Personality doesn't fall into that. It's like that regardless, no matter what your personality is, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Granted, do we want it? Probably not. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe a Jeep Rubicon, 4-door or even maybe 2-door could be the best out of the box solution to wheel the Rubicon.
Mm-hmm.
That might be true. I really have no idea. I'm running through my mind like what might be competitive against it here in the States.
Yeah.
Right. Because maybe a Nissan Patrol or an old I don't even know if the Hiluxes. I guess the new Hiluxes are IFS. but maybe a 70 series, that's still continuing on in other countries might have compete with the Rubicon. But here in the United States, it's still the only like out of the box, like front and rear locked solid axle vehicle I know.
Pretty much. I think that the Bronco could take it on as well.
Yeah.
The question just comes down to how many times could you run the Rubicon without things breaking in both those platforms.
Right.
And I think it would be close because the Rubicon Jeeps, 2-door or 4-door, have a lot of issues with sector shafts and panhard bar issues. And whereas the Bronco has a lot of issues with tie rods and axle shafts, front CVs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, which one's going to give first? On those two platforms.
Right. And we're getting into the Jeep Talk show.
Yeah, right.
You can throw 37s on a Rubicon without doing any modifications. I think.
Believe you can. It might rub a little bit under full stuff and lock on a high articulation obstacle kind of thing. But I believe you can put 37s on a Jeep Rubicon without any modification.
And how about the Bronco?
I believe it's supposed to be you can put 37s on. You just have to cut. There's a little kind of like a square tube, like it's a crash tab. And then there's another one that was used to move the vehicle around on the assembly line that serves no purpose otherwise.
Okay.
That's like in the fender well, the wheel well area. So you move those two things. Supposedly you could put a 37 on a Bronco too.
Right. Now would the tie rods hold a 37?
That's another good question.
Yeah. So
yep.
I don't know. Maybe the Bronco can compete, but I think longevity, the Jeep would probably still win.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah.
But it comes down, so we're looking at getting somebody to do a Jeep. That's from the factory, easiest, quickest way to get wheeling and doing the Rubicon. I think a Jeep Rubicon is the way to go. But then there's the question of what's your end goal for the vehicle? Are you looking to build a vehicle that's more capable than a factory Rubicon?
Yeah. Do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to hit Fordyce and the box in 3, or do you want to go down to Trail Hero, Johnson Valley, or where's Sand Hollow? Thank you. You'd go play in those locations, or is the Rubicon good enough?
Yeah. So it's right. Where does it stop now? Because if you're talking about wanting to go on Fordyce and play in the box on 3, I wouldn't recommend a Jeep.
I wouldn't.
I would recommend a buggy or a lightweight Toyota pickup, a mini truck.
Yeah. I think there's a line there that you could draw to being like, are you going to change the axles under that vehicle?
Yeah.
Then you might as well not get, why buy that vehicle if you're going to just change the axles out of it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to put axles in something, now you can kind of choose whatever platform you want.
Yeah. And then from there, that's a whole nother argument in itself within Jeeps is, do you buy a Sport or a Sahara?
Well, that's
base model, knowing that you're going to do suspension, axles, all this shit to it anyways, or do you buy a Rubicon, rip everything out from under it, sell it for aftermarket parts?
Yeah.
And go that route, right?
Sure. Yeah, and that's the same with anything. Like, if you're going to solid axle swap a vehicle, you probably should not buy the highest end vehicle because you're removing the tech.
Yeah.
A lot of the tech out of it. Like, you might need to hit some level so you get the cool, better screen on the dash. But if you're getting it for lockers and you're going to change out axles, why'd you spend that extra money for the lockers?
Yep.
Because you're going to change it out anyway.
Yeah. So what is the point between those two options? What is the considerations that people should be considering to go that route or not?
Well, I if I'm guessing that, well, from what I'm taking away from what you're asking me is when should people consider getting a certain trim package? Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily a different trim package, but maybe. I think it comes down to more of, how do you make that distinction between wanting to build your vehicle beyond what a Rubicon model has?
Okay.
And then does that then dictate you just go with a base model vehicle? Do you buy an old beater vehicle platform to build off of? Should we recommend people to just go that route and build an old beater platform if that's the way? Because that's where you and I would go, I think,
for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand your question now. I think it comes down to what do you want to wheel, and then what creature comforts you want.
Okay, that's fair,
right? Because if you want a nice dash and a decent stereo or air conditioning or heated seats, or whatever they are, then you find that vehicle that has that. Whether it's a new vehicle or an old vehicle, that it depends on what you want.
Yeah.
And some of those things you can add later. But I think there's a lot of people that have their brand loyalties. Like there's Ford people that will love the Bronco. There's Toyota people that love 4Runners or trucks, right? There's no Chevy fans out there that I know of. So
no, pretty much.
Yeah. Or there's Dodge.
There's Dodge fans, but they don't like to admit it.
Do they even wheel?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So, I guess and then there's, Pennstar fans of some sort, but
the minivan fans.
Yeah. The minivan and off-road vehicles.
Yeah.
But, whether you need a newer vehicle that has some nicer amenities and maybe some nicer seats or whatever it is compared to an old beater, I really do think that comes down to personal preference. Because if you're going to be doing axle swaps and redoing suspensions and building suspensions, to me, it doesn't matter frame up what it is. Maybe you could consider looking at, well, this is a very well-known engine and drivetrain, and I'm going to throw an Atlas behind it anyway, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I want a good engine and drivetrain, and I don't care after that. So there could be, infinite ways that people could choose what they want. But I think it kind of comes down. I think if you get an older vehicle, you typically are more fabrication savvy.
Okay. Interesting. So is there then I don't want to say a difference. Is there a pattern maybe? I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Is there a...
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeep owners will only buy bolt-on stuff. They would never weld on their frame.
That is what I was getting to. I was trying to find a nicer way to say it.
I knew where you were going, and I'll say it that way.
Thank you, Jimmy.
A Jeep owner will never weld on their frame.
Yeah.
They probably don't even know how to weld. Let's be honest. Where, an old school Toyota guy, then the only way you could get a suspension lift is by creating something and welding it on.
Okay. And so is that like something where you should not be looking at older vehicles? If you're not very mechanically inclined, you don't know how to weld, should you just be like, well, I can't even get into these because
that, or you take it to a shop.
Okay.
And have them do like, oh, my knuckle's leaking, I gotta do this. Or, hey, my computer's not working, I don't understand this electrical, I'm gonna take it somewhere to get that figured out so it runs correctly. Like, if you don't want to do the work, then
you got to put out the money.
You got to put out the money.
Okay. So my concern with any of that is, even if a shop does the work, inevitably in rock crawling, you're going to break something on a trail.
100%.
So you still need to
it's one of those
how the system works, and like, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like an asshole here, but I kind of am. Like, if you're not very mechanically inclined, I would highly recommend you to stay away from older vehicles.
Yeah.
Because they are just going to typically, they're going to have a little bit more problems on the trail. They might have electrical gremlins that have been hiding for 30 years and all of a sudden show themselves while you're in the middle of an obstacle.
Yep.
They may break stuff. And if you break something on the trail, you know, and it's a fully custom fabricated suspension system for, you know, are you going to be able to fix it on the trail? And you know how it all works and how to repair it and get moving again?
No.
Or do you go with something that has a lot of aftermarket support, a lot of bolt-on options that if something does break on the trail, it's easier to fix, easier to repair, easier to get moving again. And when you get home, you can just buy a replacement part and bolt it on.
Yes.
Yes. So, so
I mean, I think that's good on both cases.
Yeah.
You know, regardless, you know, it's like if I break an item and it's a custom item, then it's extremely hard to find regardless. Like if I'm out on the trail, you know, on, you know, between 3 and 4 on the trail on Rubicon or on Fordyce, excuse me, and I break, you know, I have a custom made part that broke. I either need parts that are ordered custom and they have to get delivered and then I have to get them installed and then fix it or drag that vehicle out.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if I broke a off the shelf item, I could hopefully call the local Napa or O'Reilly's or whatever, AutoZone or
you brought
something.
your Starlink with you that day?
Yeah, and you call them from the trail with your Starlink and go, hey, I need this starter or something. And they're like, yep, we got that in stock. Come on in.
Perfect.
You know, and you can drive there and back and or have somebody pick it up and meet you at the trailhead or whatever. So, I mean, to some extent, custom is bad.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to do custom to get what you want.
Yep.
But I think if you use factory parts as much as possible, that's a benefit.
Yeah.
But I think what you were asking is if somebody is not mechanically inclined, which one should they do?
Which one should they be leaning towards?
Which one should they be leaning towards?
Which one's going to make their life easier?
Yeah. Well, first off, you're probably going to have to go wheeling with a friend.
Yeah.
Somebody that since you've been talking to Tyler, you need to go wheeling with Tyler because he has the welder.
Yeah.
And he is mechanically inclined and knows how to put things back together.
Sometimes that's
glue.
debatable. Yeah. I use a Elmer's school glue stick. What are those called?
There you go. But I think the answer to that is you want to stay closer to factory. And I think that to some extent that expands to both sides of that coin.
I would agree with that statement. I think that there's a lot of benefits to factory parts, quote unquote, off the shelf parts that are I don't want to say mass produced, they're available, right? They're produced in a production way so that if it's a bolt-on kit aftermarket and you rip apart a panhard bracket, you can go back to the company and be like, hey, I needed this part, this other panhard bracket. And they're like, okay, we'll ship it out to you tomorrow or something. Right. Whereas if it's a custom panhard bracket, you may have to wait, a week and a half for yourself to make a new one, or take it to the shop and wait through their 6-month backlog of vehicles to get a new panhard bracket put on and made.
I mean, a perfect example for this is axle shafts.
Oh, that's a great example.
Right?
Yeah.
If you have a custom width axle and you have custom made axle shafts and you're off-roading and you break an axle shaft, you're not going to be able to get another axle shaft until that company makes another axle shaft for you and sends it to you.
Yep.
Right. Whereas if you broke an axle shaft that is a stock part, or even a stock is more or less a stock part, right? Whether it was a chrome one that broke or a factory one that broke, it's still the stock length.
Yeah.
You can probably find one somewhere, or somebody has one, whether it's in their rig or a spare part.
Yeah.
And you can get it really easily to help you get off the trail.
Yeah.
So that's really how it falls down.
Yep.
In that side of things. And that's a lot of, because we've been talking axles a lot in the last few weeks.
Yeah, we have.
And, I think stock lengths are almost a necessity.
You think so?
I do, personally. I know that you have some custom.
I do.
Are your fronts custom length?
My fronts are custom length.
Also.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you're in that trouble hole. But yeah, I think if I ever built axles, they would be stock lengths one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much every part on my axles are readily available parts except for my axle shafts.
Sure.
My inner shafts on the front and my shafts on the rear are all custom shafts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the rears are luckily, I think, the same length. Yeah, they're the same length
on each side.
So
I
can get one and have that as a spare, but then I need to have, technically I should have one spare of each side in the front too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, just in case.
Yeah.
True. So, I mean, circling back to like sort of the original question that started our conversation that spawned off into this podcast is, should this gentleman be looking at another platform? You know, and what determines that new vehicle, old vehicle side of things? And now that we've been talking about it, I really do think it comes down to like how good of a mechanic they are, or how good at fabricating they are.
Or learning, the will to want to learn it, or the time available to learn it as well. I mean, you could want to learn it all you want, but if you don't have time to learn it and you just can't do it, you know, do you come to reality with that and buy a newer vehicle because there's more bolt-on options? Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. And I remember just chatting with him all day and then leaving at the end of the day and thinking he should be in a Jeep.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I never asked him, like, why did you choose a 3rd gen 4Runner to start off with? And so I don't know. It's I'm curious if he just absolutely loves 3rd gen 4Runners for some reason. And he specifically went for that for a particular reason. There's definitely ways to make it work. And that's what we were talking about, ways to make it work. Yeah. It just seemed like after we were done talking, I was like, man, he has a lot of work and a long ways to go before he can get out and enjoy the Rubicon safely and and responsibly.
Yeah. So in regards to the 3rd gen 4Runner, do you think that just a lift kit and 35s with a front and rear locker and all the bumpers and skids and sliders that you could have, he would be happy trying the Rubicon with that?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I told him as well. I was like, man, you put 33s on it and a rear locker and skid plates, and you can get through the Rubicon, especially if you're with a big group, right? If you're with a big group, that's the benefit of going with big groups. They travel typically a little slower because people get hung up, people get caught up. And if there's more people there to assist, they can, and you have good skid plates, you can always get drug over rocks that you're going to get high centered on. But if you want to go out and enjoy the Rubicon on your own by yourself, you definitely want to be bigger, beefier, stronger, and have more knowledge about all the systems in the vehicle.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did have that conversation, and I was like, hey man, you do have a long ways to go on this vehicle, but I think you can build it in stages where you can still get out and enjoy some of the trails around and some of the trips without being, just building a vehicle for 2 years and not getting to go out and enjoy the things in the meantime. And so I was like, just make sure you're staying with people that you trust, that are knowledgeable and won't leave you stranded and won't try and winch your axle to your chassis to get out of a hole. So I was like, as long as you're wheeling with people you trust that have good knowledge and have good experience wheeling and recovery and mechanics, you're going to be just fine. But at the same time, there's a certain level of don't take your vehicle on the Rubicon as open on 31s, because then you're just going to drag down the entire group.
Right.
Like there's also a fine balance point of don't be doing this in the meantime.
Right.
So
so what was the first thing that you suggested to him? Like, was he going to drop like $6,000, $8,000 like instantly to go and raise the bar on it?
Yeah.
Or was he like, okay, I'm going to need wheels and tires?
He was originally talking about having I think it was close to a $10,000 budget.
Okay.
And wheels and tires were the first thing that he was starting with and looking into.
That would not be my first, but okay.
And so, I started talking. I was like, hey, you need to re-gear it. There's ways, because you have Toyota axles, and an 8-inch dropout, you can just pull the third member out, and a lot of gear install places will give you a massive discount on labor if you just bring them the third member rather than the entire vehicle.
Yes.
So we were talking about that, and he was like, cool. Yeah, I was just going to do the rear axle for now, get that re-geared. And I was like, you can't do that. Not if you want to do 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. I was like, you can.
Yeah.
You just can't put it in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. So we had to have that talk. And once he was like, oh, you can't run 2 different gear ratios, front and rear. I was like, no, yeah, you can't. That's when I realized, okay, we've got a lot more to talk about here. Let's
go back.
Yeah.
We got to go backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're in the sand.
Yeah. Sand or snow. Snow works okay too.
Yeah. Deep snow.
Snow. Yeah.
Yeah. Not ice pack.
No. So anyways, that's kind of how that all unfurled. And I was like, man, is there a better option that he could be out enjoying? Cause he just wants to go wheeling. Like, he's really passionate about wanting to get out into the Sierras and doing some wheeling.
Right.
And I'm like, man, you have a long way to go on this 4Runner before you're getting to some really badass locations in the Sierras.
Yeah. Yes, I think, I don't know about, I mean, I think he could have, it sounded like he's just started with a bad choice. And I'm not saying the 4Runner is a bad choice. I'm just saying his start of a build is not in the right spot. Yeah. He should have just bought a 4Runner already on 35s.
Yeah, if you look at all of Jimmy's saved Facebook Marketplace postings, it's all 3rd-gen 4Runners on 35s with lockers.
Don't tell him. No, we have I didn't show him my Facebook saved items, but we were talking about, as soon as we get the TV up here in the studio, we're going to do a saved item Facebook review thing.
Yeah. And
we're going to pull the photos up and everything up on the TV.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun episode to watch on YouTube whenever that happens.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he bought a stock vehicle and he wants to build it up, where he should have bought a already semi-built up vehicle that he can go and play immediately with.
Yeah.
Because he bought, I don't know how much you can buy a 3rd-gen 4Runner for these days. Probably a decent one for
15,000. 15,000, a decent road built one, or
no, like stock, like a good stock one.
No, you can find them a lot cheaper.
Can you?
Yeah, prices have dropped. They're
okay.
I would say 5 to 8
really
right now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he's gonna get to 15, or his budget let's just say he bought it for 5. His budget is, he said he had 10,000 more to put in it.
That's my recollection. It could be wrong.
And I think if you you could buy a well-built one. Then if they're 5 now, they're probably 8 to 10 for one that's already built on 35s.
Yeah.
Easily. And then he would have already had his entry point.
Yeah.
Right. Then he would have the rig that he should have bought has a slight lift, 35s, already geared with lockers front and rear.
Yeah.
And then he could go and play on a lot of the trails.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? I'm ready for the next step.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's talk about solid axle swaps.
Yep. Yeah.
And that would have been the next move.
That's a really good point. I think that I 100% in agreement, and I hadn't thought about that. Is instead of buying a newer vehicle they can go out to, just buy somebody's project that is done decently well that you can enjoy immediately.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that option as an option in my thinking. So.
Yeah. It was black or white for you. And there is a gray line in
totally.
there. Yeah. A little bit. But so, I mean, if he was stuck on the 3rd-gen 4Runner, then, maybe getting a already pre-built one might have been a better solution.
Yeah.
But the fact is that he just went out and bought a stock vehicle and wants to build it, wants to make it his, is what it sounds like. I think that he's got a long way to go, and it probably might have been easier for him to get a new vehicle that's ready to go. But if he spent $5,000 on that one, and he asked how much is a new Jeep these days, You know, he's going to get into this $15,000 and your brand new Jeep is another 30, 40 on top of that.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So, you know, it's like maybe he didn't have the budget for all of that.
Maybe. Yeah. So anyways, it was a fun discussion with him. I really enjoyed kind of hashing out I like hashing out builds with people and figuring out, you know, what is, where are you at in life? What are your goals with it? What are you trying to do in the short term versus long term?
Yeah.
I think too many people are too quick to say you need to build a vehicle this way.
Yeah. You need tons and 40s.
Yeah. Just go straight there. Go straight to tons and 40s. I'm like, is it really? I don't think it's all necessary.
No.
Right away for people. I think there's a lot of people that eventually end up there, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But do you really need to go straight to tons and 40s and dump all this money in for this massive build when you want to go do Strawberry Pass?
Yeah. No.
Especially
now that a Subaru can probably do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But
so,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a fun question to, and a lot of it spawns off with where to start.
Yeah.
I think that's really the question.
Yeah.
As like, where should somebody start? Whether they should start with a newer vehicle that has a lot of capabilities built into it from the factory and from the start, or if they should buy a project, or if they want to start their own project and they're mechanically sound to be able to handle and take on to that project.
Yeah. A lot to go into it. So, what do you guys think? I'm curious what other people out there is there other options that we didn't think about, or are one of those three options what you would do with yourself, or did you do one of those three options? Did you do you like the decision that you made? Do you regret it and wish you had done a different way with it? I'm curious. So write us in, call us. We love hearing from you guys. We love feedback. We love hearing what you guys are doing out there with your vehicles, what trips you guys are going on. So you can write into us at Jimmy or Tyler at SnailTrail4x4.com. There's Instagram. Jimmy watches the SnailTrail 4x4 account. I kind of somewhat watch over 4x4 Toyota Tyler. There's voicemails.
Yeah.
You can call in, leave us a voicemail at 916-345-4744 is the phone number there. We go over those on Friday. We get to listen to you guys and give some replies. Is there any other ways? I rate 4x4, Facebook. There's lots of different ways to get in touch with us. So
anything but TikTok, it seems like.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, SnailTrail4x4 has a Twitter/X account, but I haven't looked at it since I started it, I think. Maybe I did some posts on it back in the day.
Nice. Well, cool. Good
LinkedIn.
stuff.
LinkedIn. You can get to me on LinkedIn.
Nice.
SnailTrail4x4.
I think I'm on LinkedIn too. I never check it though, and I just automatically delete all the LinkedIn emails. So
no. Yeah.
I think that's it, man.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah.
Any final words for everybody out there, Jimmy?
My final words are drive it. You'll learn more of how you want to build your rig the more seat time you have.
I like that a lot. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
You have that twinkle in your eye.
It's pretty funny.
I'm a little worried about. Okay.
It's a one-liner, though,
Yeah.
so you don't have to do anything, actually.
Well, I have the gift of one-liners.
Oh, you are?
Yep. And she has the gift of curves.
Oh, got it.
It's a song.
Oh.
You know?
No.
Okay.
I took part in the sun tanning Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you even know there was a thing?
I didn't.
Oh, well, there definitely is.
Talk about things that should not be in the Olympics.
But I only got bronze.
You didn't get gold or silver?
Didn't get golden or silver.
No, just bronze.
Just bronze.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You suck.
Third overall, second loser. Kazoon tight.
They've done studies that show third place winners at the Olympics are typically a lot more excited than second place winners.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They barely made it.
Yeah.
Where the second place person just lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.